one question that I have for you is, what was your turning point? Because you said you grew up, um, your family was racist. They kind of pushed that ideology on you. Like, what was your turning point, and how do you navigate through that whole situation?
You know, I was raised to believe that others were evil. Okay. So we're getting back to that like evil thing you were just talking about. Like at some point, I had to distinguish as a child that my family believed that bad things only happened to bad people. So it was like this denial factor was so clear to me, but I couldn't understand why other people couldn't see the things that I saw, like the bigger pictures, and like we all could be free, we all could have food, we all could share. Like, why is that not so simple for anybody in the world to understand? Like, as a kid, it just didn't seem like it was in anybody's vocabulary around me. So, looking back now, I see that it was like over time. Like, I can see certain points where I saw some really devastating things occur in front of me, or I participated in violence, or I was part of a tragic event that I had no control over, but the people that are around me were not healthy people. And I look back now and I'm like, how could I be that kind of person? How could I behave in that way in such anger and hatred? And how could I have not? From where I'd come from and the experiences I had experienced, it was a dog eat dog type of world. If you didn't get yours, you didn't survive. You know, people, places, and things were out to get me all the time. That was real. Like I was told and gaslighted that it wasn't real. Even in service, I was told those things weren't happening, that I'm just crazy. Just like for the last 20 years, I was told I was crazy rather than, hey, you have a condition called Hashimoto's disease that makes it where you can't function. I'm 38 years old and all I know is gaslighting and mental abuse and sexual abuse and physical abuse and trauma and judgment. And that's all I've ever known. And I'm not even of darker skin color, even though I do have some descent in my blood. I don't look that way. So people do see me differently. Though I can walk up to our, local, you know, um, country town, even close by, and I'm looked at like a psychopath with my hair color, my tattoos, and my outlandish outfits sometimes. It depends on if I came from like the backwoods being told that this is a certain way to live life. And if I don't live that way, I'm going to hell. I'm going to think anything outside of that is Satan. And that is what I believed. I literally believed that anybody who was different from me was evil for a long time. And nothing could have changed my mind until I realized in the last few years, especially with the pandemic and the spiritual war that we've been going through. I don't care if you see it or not yet. I literally realized that the demons and the darkness and the evil is me. It's all been me. If we're all connected, it's part of me. And the only way that I can get above and beyond that is by admitting that it's part of me. And I have to be a better version of myself in every second, every now moment because of my upbringing. It's not easier. It's harder to be a decent human being because killing and harming people for vengeance, for my own protection, for out of fear was normal from where I come from. I had to be the angriest, the meanest, and the scariest, but I won. But I didn't win anything spiritually. It was just pain and suffering and aloneness and isolation because I had to be better than or less than somebody all the time. Talking down about somebody so I could feel okay because I was broken. I was broken and I hated you and I hated me too. And that was the reality. I hated everyone equally, including myself.
Yeah, so that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. Integrating the shadow side of you or your ego into who you are is something that we have to go through, and a lot of people don't know how to do it. It's takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort, and you have to be aware of the things that you're integrating into you as a person. Um, for me, I realized that I wasn't always like a nice person. I've always smiled, but I wasn't always nice. I did a lot of bad things intentionally because it was it wasn't necessarily like kill or be killed, but it was like, you know, hurt hurt people or just acknowledge that you're well, basically hurt people before they hurt you is something that I kind of lived by. And again, pushing my emotions and things down like that and not expressing how I really felt was something that I lived by through high school and probably the beginning of college. But integrating that within yourself, because you can't cut off your ego, you can't cut off your shadow side because it's all a part of you. It's all what makes you who you are as a complete being. But integrating that and just understanding what you're fully capable of and understanding what other people are fully capable of, because nobody is a saint. Nobody. We try to be. The goal is to be pure-hearted, to love, to embrace everybody and everything. But sometimes people falter, consciously and subconsciously. You just have to be aware of that and still love people where they are in life, because everybody isn't where we are. Everybody is still going through a process of integrating. Everybody's still going through a process of denial, of victimhood, and things like that. But we just have to accept people. We have to love people for who they are. And it honestly starts with loving ourselves first, because you can't give somebody what you don't already have. If you don't already have love for yourself, you can't give that to somebody else. So how was it going through the process of like re-loving yourself?
I think I'm still in the process. I mean, I know that I love myself today and I am the best version of myself I've ever been. And that's an amazing feeling coming from someone who hated myself, despised myself, and didn't feel I was worthy to be on this planet at all. Um, I recognize that there's times when I beat myself down. You know, I get into my head, I start getting into, the internet and all the effed up things going on around the planet and the flooding and like all these millions of things that are happening all over the world because we have access to hear about it. We have access to contact and learn about things that we would have never known about if we didn't have the internet. It would not even crossed our minds. And it's so neat in a way because we can put our intentions on something and say, I want to send out prayers to these people that I would have never even known about. I would have never even had any idea they even existed or that they were going through anything. But also recognizing that our system and the way things are being created that have been created for a long time are intentionally keeping us in fear, as you had said before. They are intentionally keeping us occupied in a certain way, in a certain box, so that we stay consumed with purchasing things to make ourselves feel better, purchasing things to make our face look better, whatever the case may be. And I'm also one of these people. I'm not trying to judge anyone. I'm saying that I've been stuck in this process of trying to look better on the outside, to feel better on the inside. And even though, yes, it is nice to take care of myself, it is nice to pamper myself every once in a while, it's nice to show myself some love. It's not out of trying to cover something up, an insecurity, or I'm too fat or whatever the case may be, because for a long time these incessant thoughts wrapped around my mind constantly, even if they weren't true, even if they made no sense whatsoever. There was just constant thoughts of negativity and hatred and anger and resentment and shame and guilt, and those just kept swirling and swirling, and I didn't know what the hell to do with those things than what I'd already done: kill myself with some substance, abuse myself with unhealthy relationships and, one night stands and different kinds of ways of abusing myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. because that's what I felt I deserved. And now that I know better, and through the process of spiritual teachers, coaches like yourself, friends that I've met along the way to be of service, to help me see myself better, to help, be a guiding light, to help me curb my cussing, to help me curb some of the things that are a little more out there that could be very harmful to others if I allow it to get inside my soul again. If I let that anger and resentment come back up and I start feeding those wolves easily, I can become something I can't recognize in the mirror again. Alcoholism, drug addiction, all of that stemmed from me not wanting to feel all this. And I can imagine that there's more people out there who feel this way. And even though they're not ready to say it, or they are maybe still in denial, then maybe something you and I have to say might help them see that they're able to get out of this. They're able to break free from the hatred inside themselves if we admit that we are the culprit. I am the problem. Because if I'm not the problem, there is no solution.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Enlightenment Moment podcast. Head over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you normally listen to your podcast to catch the full version of this episode. And while you're here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this one. Until next time, stay focused, stay aware, and keep your vibrations high.